Welcome to Steve Scott's video series of talking about judo when I feel like it.
Hey, that's a pretty good intro. Well, I might use that. I probably will. I don't know. Everybody, hey, Steve Scott here, and here is Annmaria Demars. If you're a judo person, if you don't know her, you've been on another planet. But she is, and she was the United States, the first world judo champion from the United States back in 1984. A dear friend of my wife Becky for many years, over 50 years, and certainly me too. And in my opinion, one of the all-time great people I ever met. So I want to talk a little bit today, as briefly as I possibly can, on teaching and coaching. Guess what? That's what I talk about a lot. And really I worked for, my career was in public recreation for almost 37 years, and I taught judo that entire time and taught thousands of people judo. Annmaria has similar experiences in more of an educational format. And now I'm teaching at a school again. I also taught schools as well, but I'm doing that a lot today. So let's talk a little bit. Would you tell everybody what you did at Gompers and how you had a successful program there for many years? Can you kind of describe
We
that?
had the program for 15 years. It was at a middle school in Los Angeles Unified School District in a, politely as I can say, a very low-income neighborhood. And one of my daughters did her student teaching there, and she had asked if we knew anybody who could teach judo at the school. But she said, but I have no money. And the school has no money. And she asked her sister Rhonda, and Rhonda taught there for a while. She'd just come back from the Olympics, and the first thing she does is call me up and say, Mom, these mats are terrible. They're not safe. And it happened to be around my mother's birthday, and my mom was turning 80, I think, and my sister said, you know, Mom's got everything she wants. I mean, if you're 80 years old, if you wanted it, you bought it by now. All you guys, Annmaria has got this program in LA. Everybody kick in and buy a mat.
Yeah.
And so a bunch of my relatives each bought one mat. They shipped them out. We bought a couple of crash pads from Mike Swain and Chuck Jefferson up there in Northern California. And that's how we got started. And a couple of things about, at least in Los Angeles, and I think a lot of public school districts are like this, for all they know, I am a child molesting serial killer, right? I could not have practice unless there was an LA Unified staff member in the room. And we, for 15 years, had one teacher that my daughter, Jose Gonzalez, shout out to him, that my daughter Jennifer
And
calls
great guy,
super
met him.
teacher.
Yeah, great guy. Yeah.
And then we had two other teachers who kind of traded off. They didn't have to be on the mat, but they had to be physically in the room. And actually, all three of them did judo
Oh, that's
and helped. I think they all got up to green belt, and they did help teach. I think a couple important things, but if you're going to be in a school that many people in judo sort of miss, is things need to be developmentally appropriate. For middle school kids, they want to be cool, right? They want to be hanging out with their friends, and they also don't want to be talked down to. And often I see that in judo clubs, where Steve Seck, who you know, who is on the Olympic team, was also a PE teacher.
Great judo and a PE guy. Yeah, right.
And one of the things I noticed he would do when he started a class at the beginning of the year, he would introduce himself to everybody and ask everybody's name. I'm really bad with names, but I made a major effort to remember every kid's name. Kids want to, at all ages, I think, but elementary and middle school particularly, they want to be recognized.
Yeah.
And if you are in a low-income neighborhood, I know what it's like to be the kid that gets something because they needed it, right? I would do, usually at the end of every class, something like, who did something good today? I try to recognize people for specific stuff. And it might be, or I might just say, we were doing Ouchigari today, and you had the best Ouchigari in the class. You get this t-shirt. I had my box of things, and I run a software company, right? So I'm often at places where they give me a backpack and they give me t-shirts, or I go and do a clinic and they give me a sweatshirt for their club. And they were all in my box of things. And they were generally nice things, like a new hoodie or a new jacket. Ryan donated a lot of stuff.
Yeah, right.
Shout out to him. Drew McIntyre, you probably don't watch WWE, but he was the guy with the sword in WWE. Sent a whole box of t-shirts for all the kids.
That's fantastic.
Right. I would have stuff like this, and at the end of every practice, I would say things like, we did Ouchigari today, and you were the best person in the club at Learn Ouchigari. Here's a t-shirt for you. Or we would have, a little mattress at the end, and you improved so much since the last time. The last time we had these club matches, you got thrown for a pawn all 3 times, and this time you won one and you fought to the draw the last 2 times, and you showed real improvement. Here's this for you.
Yeah, from phys ed standpoint, immediate positive reinforcement. Yeah.
And it has to be legit.
Legit's important. Yeah, no phony stuff.
Oh yeah, middle school students, they just have like radar for that, right?
Yeah. One time years ago, I worked in one of my guys who worked for me. He had the bad habit of asking a high five for everything a kid did. I mean, expected behavior. And it got to the point, even the kids were rolling their eyes and looking at each other. And I finally had to say hey man, you're faking it too much, and they know it. Yeah,
Right.
they know it. They like you said, they get radar. Yeah,
Right.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, please.
Well, so that's one of the things I try to do is every practice, and it doesn't always have to be, here's a sweatshirt for you, here's a new backpack. It could be, that's really great, Steve. Oh, good job on your Ojigari. And I don't see enough of that positive reinforcement, and I think middle school kids really need that. The other thing we did is we had criteria to be in our program.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of judo clubs just take anybody that comes in, where because we were in a school and we were privately funded, my friends and family pretty much kicked in all the money, that I could say, you have to have a 2.5 GPA to be in this program. And if you don't have a 2.5 GPA, you need to be getting tutoring, you need to be doing something that shows me you're trying to bring your grades up. And there are kids who struggle to get 2.5, and one of them brought in his AmeriCorps tutor. The guy said, yep, he meets with me every day that you don't have judo. So it was something they earned their way into, and they earned their way to stay in. If you got in trouble in school, you got kicked out of Mr. Scott's class for mouthing off at it, you could not come back to judo until you brought a letter to me from him saying that you manned up, woman up, you went fixed it, whatever it took, and you come back to judo.
That's fantastic.
If you skip school today, you can't come back to judo.
Right.
You can't come that day. And we also tried to, like you and I, judo was our ticket out. We saw a lot of things. We were pretty successful at it. But it takes a lot of money often to go to tournaments, I don't know if you knew this, maybe you did. When I was a kid, judo tournaments were $2.
Oh, yeah.
And my mom didn't have a lot of money, and she had 50 cents a day for her lunch because she worked. A lot of people's moms didn't work. And 4 days a week, she went without lunch to give me that $2 on Saturday or Sunday so I'd go fight in a tournament. And you better believe I was bringing home a trophy, right?
Yeah.
But now tournaments are what? $30, $50, $75, and a lot of kids didn't have it. And we would raise money to go to those. But still, we weren't traveling all over the world, going to all these camps, because it just was not financially possible. But what we did do is focus on things like camps, because if you take somebody to a training camp, they can learn a lot of judo. We went to your friend Morris Allen.
Yep.
We went to Washington, D.C. He did a camp for us.
One of the greats of all time, in my opinion.
Yeah, he's a really good judo. You probably knew he's like knighted, master of the British Empire, right?
Yeah, he deserved it really well. Right?
Yeah.
But you also came to Kansas City, and you did a tour of all our sites here in Kansas City, and we have them. People may not believe it, but we do. Pretty cool city, actually. And your kids did really well at our judo tournament. One more, another thing. And the other thing, real quick, that we have found through the years is the Amateur Athletic Union. I know that there are different groups, and USA Judo is the governing body. That's pretty expensive these days.
Oh, yeah, we signed them all up with the AAU because all the checks were coming from me. So if it's $75 a kid or $12 a kid, and they came here.
So
and had
insurance
great time.
is so much better deal for the AAU, and that's what I've used all through my career in public recreation, and still do with the school where we teach now, and it's the best deal in town. And I'm not particularly trying to sell that as much. I'm just saying, if you're a coach and you're looking for good, inexpensive, great insurance that's the best of the martial arts, I went with the AAU, and I know you did too.
That's the first thing the school district asks is, do you have insurance? Do these kids get injured?
Yeah, they want to know. Are you covered? Do you have practice insurance? Is there some kind of coach education component? AAU does that, and that covers you.
Right.
It really does, as a member. So, all right.
Well, the other thing that I think is really important with kids, in middle school particularly, is the social aspect. And they're always like, no talking on the mat, where servers. But we would take breaks, and during that 5-10 minute break, they could talk all they want. We as you said, we came here to Kansas City, stayed in a hotel here. They got to go on a plane, hang out together in restaurants and eat. Another year we did a road trip. We went to Salt Lake City.
Yep.
How people say it's not my first rodeo. Like all my kids are from like South Los Angeles. It was their first rodeo. We saw a rodeo advertised in the newspaper. We were in Salt Lake City, and I told Jose, we got to go.
You go to these city kids seeing a rodeo.
But we also, like you said, always made a point to do educational things because we're taking them out of school, and we had 2 teachers from the school come with us. So like you said, we went to see the confluence of the Missouri and Mississippi rivers. Now all the kids in their geography, their vocabulary test know what a confluence is. We went to see the jazz museum. A couple of my kids were really into music, like they played in the band. They were super excited.
Kansas City. Yeah, right.
And we almost always, so in that case, we went to see a lot of educational things, but we didn't get to go to university. Most times when we go somewhere, like when we were in DC, we also went to Georgetown University as a campus tour. When we were and my friend Lanny Clark arranged this for us when we went to Sacramento first, and we went to the state legislature. So Jimmy Sanchez, God rest his soul, one of our assistant instructors that passed away at 42.
Yes, I remember that.
He arranged it all. He contacted his local state assembly person. They arranged a tour for us at the state capitol. When we came in, there's a lit up on the marquee. It says "Welcome Mat Judo," and my kids are asking, well, what are the requirements to be in the state legislature? And they're asking each other, which one of us do you think will make it first?
Oh, see, that's the kind of thing that judo is. Like you said, it's our ticket out. And judo was our ticket out. For those kind of kids to have that experience because of judo.
Right.
And that was, judo was your vehicle. That was your tool.
Well, and the other thing I've seen, and we had quite a few of our kids going to college, and I've had friends that went to college and they dropped out, not because they couldn't do it academically, because they didn't feel like they fit in, right? So when we're up in Northern California, my friend Lanny Clark arranges for everybody to get a pass to the country club he belongs to. And so we went there and they played pickleball, and they had they had a pool party by the pool and went swimming and all that, and they have a judo club there, so we also did judo. But like one of the girls went to Stanford, one of the kids ended up going to UCLA, another one went to UC Irvine, another one, so they went to some good schools. And Skylar went to Shaw University out in North Carolina. And I said, when they go and they're in the college dorm and people are talking about, their country club, be like, oh yeah, I went to Lakewood Country Club. You don't feel so much like you don't belong there.
Yeah, it's a social connection.
Yeah.
And enculturation is part of physical education. It really is. Well, we could go on, but want to keep this as brief and on. But we want to keep this as brief as we can. She had such great success in because judo is first and foremost physical education. Great sport, wonderful sport. We grew up in it. That's what we did. What you're doing too, many of you watching this. But I'll tell you what, it is a physical education that it's meant to be a physical education. It's a great sport because first it's a great physical education. And we prove this, you prove this when you teach kids especially, but it's also adults, that you don't have to try to be a tough guy or tough gal to get on the mat. You can just come in and enjoy judo and get the benefits of learning judo. And here's someone who really is a tough gal and prove that point to help a lot of kids use judo as their ticket out. It's their vehicle. So thanks so much. And I hope to have more videos